The BMR adjustable upper control arm loaded with their poly bushing should appeal to the S197 owners out there who want to upgrade the factory option, but more importantly, want a way to adjust and correct pinion angle on lowered Mustangs. Now this becomes especially problematic on cars with a one-piece drive shaft and are lowered more than an inch in the rear, but can still be an issue on stock two-piece drive shaft cars as well. Now taking things a step further, I would say the polyurethane bushing would be a better choice for the owners out there who plan on spending most of their time on the road or on the street, but with an occasional track or strip day mixed in for good measure, as the polyurethane will be a little bit better at soaking up any extra noise, vibration, or harshness when compared to your other option, which is the spherical bearing. Now the BMR Poly will be one of your pricier options in the category, around the $180 price point, and it will get a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter from me, but we will have some more detail on that later in the video. So for those who don't know, the S197 does feature what is called a 3-link style suspension with a panhard bar. You have the upper control arm and 2 lowers controlling the front to back or roll movement of that rear axle, while your panhard bar is going to help control the side to side or lateral movement. The problem is the factory components are loaded with those soft rubber factory bushings, which can oftentimes deflect under load or hard acceleration, causing poor traction or that dreaded wheel hop. On top of that, the factory components don't really allow for any pinion angle adjustment on lowered Mustangs, which alone can cause their own issues, including your driveline vibrations, premature wear and tear on your pinion bearings, or even your U-joints. But first up, let's break down the construction, and on the surface, you're looking at a very, very beefy part. 1 5/8" DOM steel tubing to be exact, loaded with BMR's 95 durometer polyurethane bushing, which is internally fluted. And basically what this means is gonna help keep the grease in the bushing at all times, increasing the lifespan, but also keeping the noise levels down a little bit, which can sometimes be problematic on other non-greasable polyurethane bushings. The center section, or adjustable portion of the upper control arm, is going to feature CNC machined chromoly steel with rolled threads, and this will just help make on-car adjustment relatively easy when it comes time to dial in your optimal pinion angle. I do say relatively easy because you are going to be working in a tight space above your pumpkin, especially for you owners out there who have larger hands like myself. I do want to point out that BMR does like to recommend installing their corresponding upper control arm mount, which I don't have on the table with me in this video, and that not doing so might result in some clunking noises coming from the diff area while driving. And ultimately, this is going to be your call, right? Because you can totally install the BMR upper with the factory mount and take a gamble on the noise, but in my opinion, the mount is only going to help further solidify the rear end, and the factory part you're going to be replacing with that mount is made from thin stamped steel. The BMR mount, on the other hand, 1/4 inch thick welded steel plating, and is the perfect complement to the upper control arm. And of course, you can check that out here on the site as well if you are interested. Now, if you did do a bunch of drag racing and maybe you're building more of a drag focused Mustang and you want to minimize as much movement as possible with that rear axle, I would suggest checking out BMR's spherical bearing option as well, also available on the site, but be warned, you're almost certainly going to be introducing a little bit more noise, vibration, or harshness over the poly option that we currently have here. Another thing to consider is your color. Not nearly as important, obviously, but you can grab this in red, as you see here on the table. It's also available in BMR's other signature color, their hammer tone finish, and again, both options are available on the site. But let's switch gears and talk about the install quickly here, guys, and honestly, it's gonna go down one of 2 ways. Now, the upper control arm by itself, 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, maybe an hour or 2 from start to finish, depending on your setup. Now, if you did want to install that corresponding BMR mount that we talked about a little bit earlier at the same time, we'll stretch the install time a little bit in addition to the difficulty as well, as there are going to be some more steps involved, including the removal of that massive bolt underneath the rear seats. But since we are focusing in on the upper here for the purposes of this video, let's talk about that. And on the surface, guys, you're gonna need to get the car in the air and use an assortment of sockets in addition to a pretty burly torque wrench that is capable of 200 foot-pounds for the main bolt. Now, once you remove that factory upper control arm, set it and the BMR option on a table side by side and adjust the BMR to be the same length as your stock upper control arm. At this point, you can reinstall and torque everything down and your installation is complete. Now, if you were going to adjust your pinion angle, now would be the time to do so. You're simply just going to need to grab an angle finder, take some measurements, and make your adjustments to dial in your optimal pinion angle with the suspension loaded up. That's very important. Now, stick cars should be around the -2 to -3 range, while the auto car should be a little bit closer to -1 or -2 degrees. So if you're looking to correct the pinion angle on your lowered S197 while helping to eliminate any wheel hop in the process, the BMR upper control arm would be an awesome choice, and you can grab yours right here at AmericanMuscle.com.